This video is going to show you how I create a pen. I chose a Dragon Twist pen with an antique pewter as the kit. Here's the colors of the pewter. And I'm going to go with this green blank that kind of looks like, it may look like a dragon kind of when I'm done. And so the first thing I have to do is cut this blank into as many pieces as the pen kit requires. There are 2 tubes here, so I have to cut it sized for those 2 tubes. Luckily, I have a jig on my bandsaw, which will cut it to that size plus just a little bit over, so I can final size it down to the right size. So, and these are 2 different sizes on here. So we'll go ahead and cut the long tube first. So the jig I have here, I put the long tube in the jig, and then I take the blank and set on this end, and where this cuts, it's going to be just slightly longer than that tube. It's going to get noisy here because I have to turn on my dust collection system. There's the first one done. I'll cut the second one. And there's the second one. Blanks are just a little bit bigger than that. Now we'll head over towards the drill. Okay, so next I need to drill out the blank. The particular brass tubes that fit this blank are 3/8 in diameter. So I've got a 3/8 drill mounted in here. I just simply need to mount my blank in and then drill it out. Nice and slow on the blank, and I'll bring the drill bit up to it. And then slowly turn the bit into the blank. Turn the speed up just a little bit on the blank. If it stops feeding chips out, I'm going to back it up just a little bit and then back in. And it has come through the back side, so I'm going to back it all the way out. And this particular pen has 2 blanks to it, so I need to drill the second one. And it's got a nice 3/8 hole through the center of it. I'll put in the second blank. Move the bit up to it. back it out a little bit. Starting to get a little clogged up here. And we're through the backside. And this one has a hole drilled all the way through. So I'm finished with drilling these. Next is to glue the tubes in. Okay, now that the glue has cured inside these tubes, I'm going to show you this process of how I sand these things down. Again, I've got another jig and a sander, and I'll be turning on a dust collection system for this too, so it's getting really loud. I'm also only going to show you just a portion of this because it's the same thing on all four sides. So I will end the video when I get one side done. This insert goes in so that it fits perfectly in here. And you can see that now. You can see the brass tube is right to the edge of this. It's nice and flat. So I need to do this surface and two more surfaces. So I'm going to go ahead and quit the movie here. Okay, so I have finished sanding these. You can see that the brass ring is just flush with the edges. That's the right length. I need to clean out these holes inside just to make sure there's no residue in these. It'll make assembly a lot easier. Okay, so the next thing I need to do now is I need to arrange these back the way that they were. And remember, the short one, which is this tube here, is the tip, and that's the base. So that one is shorter, so that's the tip, and then the cap. And now, in order to put these on the lathe, when they get turned, each pin has different sized. So here's a middle connector. So when I put this middle connector in, it needs to be, the blank needs to be sized right to the edge of that center part, and that way it'll be flush when it's assembled. You don't want the pen, you don't want the part to be here and the other part to be clear up here, and you also don't want it to be down so it's lower, so it feels good as you slide it across your fingers. So once I have that in place, now I need to, I've got a book here that tells me which set of bushings I need, and I need the bushings for this. So I keep my bushings on this magnetic plate, and this is the dragon pin. So here's the dragon bushings right here. So I pull one bushing, the middle bushing, and the back bushing. And when I look at these, I can see that that looks about the same there, but these are different size bushings. One bushing is larger than the other. So according to this, according to instructions, the larger bushing goes on the cap, the smaller bushing goes on the tip. So the smaller one goes to the tip, which is here. The larger goes on the back of the cap, which is here. And then the center bushing it looks like that's each of these is the same, so it just simply needs to go between these. So that is how I will turn it. So I will turn this end down to meet that bushing, this end to meet this one all the way down to meet that one, and this one down to meet this one. This one doesn't have to go down as far as this one does when I turn it. And then I want a nice shape to them when I turn them. Okay, so now I have, this is the orientation. This again is the tip, and that's the cap. I always like to turn it with the tip on the right, so I'm going to slide this onto this mandrel. You know what, I've got a spacer in here. I'm going to pull this one spacer off, slide this onto the mandrel, slide this spacer on the end, and the spacers just give me a little bit of more working space. And I'm going to bring up the tailstock to about there, lock it down, and then tighten it against that bushing and tighten this. Next I'll slide my tool rest over into the position I want, lock it down, turn on the lathe. I'll put a face shield on because we're going to have stuff flying all over the place. And the default speed on this is 1500 RPM. I'm going to turn it 3000 RPM, so I'm increasing the RPM here. $23, $24, $25, $28, $29, and 3000. Turn the lathe on. And the first thing I'm going to do is use a roughing gouge to get this thing square, or get it from square to round. Turn the lathe off, just take a look, and you can see the pattern is starting to come out. It's just about round, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to the tool that I use once I've got them pretty much round. It's a carbide bit. It's got a round blade on it. You'll notice as it gets round, I stop getting chips and I start getting these long stringers of this acrylic. So I just have to put up with them, try and get them out of the way so I can still see. So I got this first one down here is down to pretty much the shape that I want it, and almost to the size. It just needs just a little bit of trimming up. I can feel just a little teeny ridge in here, and I'll try and get rid of that. Again, trying to get rid of these. So I'm going to make a final slow angled pass to kind of clean this up before it goes to sanding. Okay, good. I'm going to start on the back side. So I'm doing the tip. I just kind of do a shape that I like. On the back, typically it's a little bit larger, but I also have to take into account that there's going to be a clip trying to come down through here. So it's got to be small enough that the clip doesn't stick out at an angle. Okay, I think that's good enough for sanding. Yeah, just a little bit more. Oh, that's pretty. So that's good enough for me to start sanding. Okay, so I'm going to start sanding here. I went up and got some water, my wet sand. So the first thing I need to do is move the tool rest out of the way. Get that over here. And then I've got a tray that catches most everything that in the sand. So it's here. And I start at a 180 grit and I sand all the way to 12,000 grit. From 1 to 600 is sandpaper, and after that it's sanding pads, and the last sanding pad feels like tissue paper almost. It doesn't take any material off, it just simply smooths it out. Once that 12,000 grit is done, and it only takes a few seconds for each grit level, once the 12,000 is done, it looks polished. It's not, I still put polish on, but we'll start with the sanding now. I also dropped the speed down. I'll drop the speed down to around 1,000 for sanding, maybe lower. It's easier to turn this off and let it reset to 1500 than to go down from 3000 to 1500. It automatically goes down as long as I hold the button. It just takes a while. So I'll get down around 700 RPM. Drop the face shield again. And get the sandpaper wet. This is the 180. Now it's up around a 220, I think. Oh, 240. I don't really pay attention to these grits too much. Every time I pull a piece off, I number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I can, because it doesn't always have the grit on the back when I pull one of these off. You don't want any heat to build up. If you've got heat building up, you're going too fast or it's not wet enough. You don't want to heat up the acrylic. Sometimes it can cause it to crack or discolor. This is number 3, but it's a 320. This is number 4. I think it's 400 grit. And this is pretty much really smooth now. I'm just, by changing these grits, we're just minimizing the size of the grooves from sandpaper until we get down to that 12,000. It's pretty much, you can't see it with the naked eye. These brown sandpapers here actually take some material off, so they are actually sanding. Once I go to the pads, it's really smoothing, not sanding. Okay, so now I'm going to transition to the pads. I've got a handy little holder here that holds them. This is the first grit, this is the last grit, and as I pull them out, they just drop down. And when I get back to where this brown is on the bottom, we've gone through all the grits. It doesn't take much. I'm not really pressing very hard at all. Got about 3 or 4 more pads. this loop. And here's the 12,000 grit. I mean, this feels like tissue paper almost. There's no, it's not rough at all. Okay, that is it. Now I polish at a higher speed, so again I'll turn this off, power it down. I'm going to dry this off. And as you can see, that's pretty shiny as it is. That 12,000 grit really shines it up. But now I'm going to go ahead and put polish on it. And I use a friction polish. It is designed to be, when I do this, I do let this get warm, so the friction causes the polish to cure, I guess you'd say. And the first thing I do is just get some on the blank. I've got a nice layer of this on here. Let it dry just a little bit. Turn it on. And now we're going to first get the surface polish off. And when I hit those bushings, it kind of discolors. I turn it over, and now is when I actually put a little bit of pressure on the blank to start to get warm. And I can feel it getting warm through the cloth. And it's quite warm. It's almost unbearably warm to my fingers. So I'm done. Turn it off. And there's the blank with polish on it. It's a pretty blank. Real pretty. Okay, so I'm going to back this off now. Slide the tailstock out of the way. Let's go farther. And pull the finished off. Here's the bushing that came on. I'll slide that back up. And now we'll go assemble the pen. Okay, so I set my pen press here. This is what I use to press the pen together. I've got the pen sitting here with the tip and the cap. And next I just need to open up the kit. Take out these. Every single one of these comes with instructions, but I've got them in a book over here. Pour all the parts out. And then it tells me how to build this. So press the tip into either end of the shorter barrel. Well, I've designed it so that is my tip. So I'll find the tip in here. Here's the tip. It's right here. I'll take it out. You get a million. If I was a drug dealer, it'd be great. I get a million of these, but I'm not. And it's got a hole in it now. So I'm going to separate this apart because I prefer to press on the bushing instead of just this because I don't want to hurt it. So I need to take this bushing off, put the tip in here. It'll go in just partially, and then I set that in. There's actually a little hole in here that holds this, and pull that back, do a course adjustment on this, bring this back in so it connects up, and then I kind of want to watch and make sure this is going in nice and straight so I don't have any problems. Just a little short, so I'm going to extend this out a little bit more. Bring this in, and there, and I seat it home all the way flush, and there it is. It's seated flush. So there's the tip on on that. It's real pretty. Okay, press the center band in assembly. So center band assembly is this part right here. So the center band assembly. So one end has threads on it and the other end does not. So I need to make sure that the threads go into this end here. The threads go into the tube here. So when I press this in, okay, the threads go on that end, so this goes into here. And again, I'm going to keep from pressing against these threads, I'm just going to use a spare piece of blank that I'm not going to use for anything else. So this will work, because I don't want to really press these threads against that metal. I'll put this in, I'm going to set this right here. And now I can press this in, and it's seated down. So it's now seated. That's pretty. Okay, take the tip protector off the ink. I need to get the spring on here. There's the spring. And drop this into the tip. There, that's in there. And then the mechanism, here's the mechanism. This is the twist mechanism right here. So now what I do is I put this over top of here and I screw that down till it tightens up, and then the tip is out so that I make sure that the mechanism works by twisting the mechanism. Yeah, the pen extends and retracts just like it should. So now this is the cap. This is the larger end of the cap. That's the smaller end. So now I take and I press the cap connector, which is this, gets pressed into this other end. So I'm going to take and put that back on. Again, I'm going to put this in, and this gets pressed so it is flush, I believe. Flush with the shoulder, yes. So again, I'm going to put this in this hole. That's too short. So I need to extend this. And once it's down, I can actually turn the screw and it will bury that in until it's flush. And it is flush now, right there. Fix the clip. So here's the clip. It's kind of cool. It's a dragon on this particular pen. And here's the cap. Cap's pretty. It's got a cat's eye on the end of it. Kind of looks pretty cool. So we put the clip over this post, and the clip's just perfect. It fits under just right, as it should. And then I'm going to twist the cap on. And before I tighten it down, I like to kind of arrange it so that it's, if there's a spot on the thing where it's kind of plain, I try to cover that up. That's kind of plain right there because I got this nice here and that nice there. So I'm going to leave it there and then tighten down the cap so it's tight. And then all we do is put this on. And usually I can push it on like this, and I did. It extends, it retracts, and there's a finished dragon pen. I like the green. Kind of looks dragony.